Of course, that is the iconic theme song for 007, James Bond. And I'm with Steve Iyinger, and I'm Goff, Bob Goff. And we are talking about the James Bond franchise, which is going to begin a whole new transition as No Time to Die debuts as we record this on Thursday tonight in our area on the movie screens, and it is Daniel Craig's final appearance as the British super spy. Steve, are you sad about that?
In a way, I am, but it's also pretty cool to see Daniel Craig going out on top as a Bond. I think when he came aboard, some people were skeptical, myself included, but as his movies have gained momentum over the years and to the point they're at now, unequivocally,
I think
he's the best James Bond ever.
He's been fantastic. I mean, I didn't know the guy when they said, I'm like, who's this guy? And then he, Casino Royale came out. I'm like, oh, he's really good. And, Quantum of Solace was, yeah, but then Skyfall was fantastic. And now we're getting ready for his last one. And I personally, I think he's the best. Of course, like you, I've seen every Bond movie there is.
10 times.
10 times. Yeah, I'm probably 5 or 6. And I just think he's been great. I was a Pierce Brosnan fan.
I wanted to be, but Pierce Brosnan and Timothy Dalton just were yawners to me in the true James Bond mold. You had Roger Moore, who was more of a comic book figure those years. The comparison was always to Sean Connery, and that was tough for anybody. Sure. But when Daniel Craig came along, and he gave it's been a more grittier Bond.
Right.
There's no comic book in this stuff.
And it's funny you bring that up, because I think when you look at Roger Moore and when he came on, we were coming off that was the early 70s. We were coming off of the camp hero version of like Adam West Batman, William Shatner's Captain Kirk. All kind of campy, and I think they converted James Bond into that with Roger Moore, and then Roger had it through the 80s, and I mean there were still some cool movies and some great theme songs, but you're right, it was and it was okay. I mean, Roger Moore was fine, but, you'd go back when, and of course, this was like just as cable's in its infancy, so the only time you were going to watch a James Bond movie back then was probably like ABC, back when they had the Sunday night movie or whatever, and they'd have a Bond movie on about every other week, it seemed like, and you'd watch the Sean Connery ones, and everybody's like, well, Roger Moore's fine, but he knows Sean Connery. And then when, Roger Moore finally, gave up the Walker PK-7, then they had some transitions. I liked Brosnan. I was like you with Dalton. Dalton's like, man, he looks the part, but and I think, so many people, I think Brosnan, they went with the whole Remington Steele thing and couldn't get over that. I don't know.
I agree with everything you said. As far as Roger Moore, I think he could have been a great Bond if he'd have come along, and not that he wasn't bad, or not that he was bad because he wasn't, but if he'd have come along at maybe now even, I mean,
right.
he wouldn't have been Daniel Craig type Bond, but he was so suave and debonair, and he would have been the perfect follow-up to Sean Connery probably, but just where he fell, I don't think he'll ever get his due.
Because you look at that, and it's funny because you talk about, the Bond has the kind of the two aspects, the suave and debonair and the kick-your-ass super spy. And Connery was both those. Connery handled both those well. And like you said, Moore was smooth, but, it was really, you'd see him fight somebody, and it's like, okay, this really isn't terribly believable. Craig, you'd see him whip somebody's ass, and then he'd sit down and say, say, how would you like your martini, sir? Shaken or stirred? And he's like, do I look like I bloody care or whatever? And that's awesome. It's like, whoa, okay. But still, he still had his way, and he could still, he still looks really good in a tux, my wife says. So I look at that. Again, he has just been fantastic. And then I guess the thing now is, what direction are they going to take? And how long is, because we didn't think we were going to get another one after Spectre. Which I forgot to mention earlier. Spectre was excellent too. I think 3 of his 4 have been really knock it out movies. Again, Quantum of Solace was meh. And like you had written in your column, which you can read today on Muddy River News, the Quantum of Solace villain was just a total turd. But I think coming into this, they had to kind of coax him into doing one more. But after this, it's like, okay, who's the next guy or gal?
I know. I'm up in the air. I could go either way on that. The guy I'm kind of hoping for, and I may not be pronouncing his name correctly, but Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he would be a tremendous Bond.
I think he'd be great too. I like him and all the other stuff he's done. The other guy I really like, but a lot of people might groan or whatever. I like Hugh Jackman.
Oh yeah, I would have no problem with
I think
him.
one of those, if it's one of those two guys, and they're like, here you go, here's your 3-picture deal, let's see how it works. And they're young enough, they can do it for another decade. Mm-hmm. I think if it's one of those two guys, it's great. If it's a woman, I'm trying to be politically correct. It's James Bond, okay? If you want to create some other, female super spy or have him, that's great. But,
right.
If you're going to go the Jane Bond route, it's not, I'm telling you, it's going to flop. I'm just, we all want to be, equal. We all want, yes. And there are, don't get me wrong. I love Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff in Black Widow. I think she rocks. I like Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. Gal Gadot, huge Gal Gadot fan. I got no problem with that. It's not that. And again, you create a female action. This is if not the most iconic single movie role in history. And he has and it's a he, and he has this ethos. It's not the same thing if you make it a woman.
Well, in so much of today's world, we're trying to fix what isn't broken. And this is a perfect example. James Bond is okay. And like you said, and I agree 150% with that, maybe give us another spy, another whole thing.
Sure.
And that would be great. I would love to have
He has a partner.
Yeah, as a partner, even a separate entity.
Make Moneypenny a badass character or something like that. And some of the trailers and some of the stuff here, he looks like maybe she's doing that. And that's great if he were to have a female co-partner who has equal billing and did all that. That's great. And then to transition the movies in that way where you kill off James Bond and you bring in, that could work. But if you do something goofy like say, okay, here's Jane Bond, you're going to get crushed. You're just going to get trampled.
Do you remember the girl, Sophie Marceau, the one, the villainess, and I could see the movie, but I can't remember which Bond it was right now. She had the part of her ear missing.
Oh, yeah.
I think she'd be a perfect.
She was tough. Yeah. So
bring her back.
So anyway, we're stoked. When are you going to see it?
I may be going tonight. It'll be sometime this weekend for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of loaded. I'm thinking maybe Monday, since there's no city council meeting because of the holiday. I'm thinking maybe Ellen and I sneak out Monday night. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So, okay, and you, of course, your lists in which you talk about the most violent Bonds that have had the most killing, and you also talk about the theme songs in which you were incredibly wrong, but that's okay. You're my friend. Okay, Goldfinger's great. It is, and yes, it's iconic. It's got that whole 60s vibe, that whole Bond vibe. But it's Paul McCartney. How do you rank anybody above Paul McCartney?
Well, odd job, I'll tell you. Because he's not deserving, that's why.
Live and Let Die is just fantastic. That bass comes in, bomb, bomb, and then the tempo picks up. I listened to it again because I attached it to the story because it was the audio clip that deserved to be attached to the story. And I was just like, I was all geared up. And then I listened to all of them, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm right. So the one thing, and also, like you said, you know, Tom Jones. How do you leave out Tom Jones?
Tom was number 6. I only listed 5.
Okay, well, yeah, I had I gave him honorable mention there. So, which was the one which you had, which I just didn't disagree with? What was your list again? Because I'll tell you the one that was just a horrible choice. And plus, you left out Adele, and you're not going to tell me, you're not going to talk about why you did left off Adele. But you know, if you're not an Adele fan, okay. But what was the other one? There was one of the ones that it was one of the old '60s ones. It was just like, I don't know.
My era, Bob.
I know that's your era. And plus, I have a Duran Duran in because that's my era.
Yeah, that was my reaction when I saw that Duran. Oh, you kidding me? And, I thought that was just horrible.
Not a Duran, no. So no 80s stuff for you. At the very end of the video, he goes, Bond, Simon Le Bond. That's great. Come on.
I'll give him credit for that.
That was good.
But you really had or have to be a Bond fan to wade through some of those 80s Bonds.
I know. But I'm a big Christopher Walken fan, too. And that also is from that same movie. And it wasn't a great movie, but it's Christopher Walken.
Deer Hunter.
That's right.
And those rats in the water.
He was in a Batman movie. He's even been a Batman villain. He's been a Batman villain and a Bond villain. So, but anyway, just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about this. So will this go down as the highest grossing Bond movie ever?
It's getting close, and I just saw last night that the global pre-ticket sale thing had surpassed 150 million, and it's already in the U.S. it's the number 1 pandemic movie.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is this the movie that brings theaters out of the pandemic funk?
That's a good point. If anybody can do it, it's Bond, because he appeals to how many generations?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, then you got a whole slug of Marvel movies coming up too. So perhaps this will be, he will be the catalyst. But you're right. It's an iconic figure. This, this guy revived the franchise. So yeah, I think it's easily going to be the biggest post-pandemic movie we've had, I think. Now, will it be the all-time greatest Bond box office movie?
Well, did you see he's already being mentioned for possible Oscar nominations? No Bond has ever been nominated for an Oscar.
No, yeah, I have not seen that yet. But no, you're right. That's always been something like it's like you said. It was like superhero movies the same way. Well, this guy can't ever win an Oscar. It's a superhero movie. Well, yeah, but then Heath Ledger did the greatest performance of the Joker ever, and then he died, and I get that. But yeah, I think Bond. I like again, and it'll be interesting. What Daniel Craig decides he wants to do next, and he can do anything. I mean, I know there's always been the guy that they've always had once you're Bond, you're typecast. And it took Sean Connery a while to get out of that. I get that. But I think he's versatile enough, and I think in today's age, I think Daniel Craig, and again, he was great in Knives Out. He's had some good stuff. So I think he'll be fine.
But he wasn't Bond yet.
Knives Out, he was Bond. Knives Out just came out like 2 years ago. Oh. Knives Out came out after Spectre.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The one with Christopher, the whole family, like murder, mystery, dealio. It was a great movie. Yeah, and he was good in it. Chris Evans was good in it. He was good in it. So, yeah, that's been like his biggest non-Bond movie. I'm not going to bring up Cowboys and Aliens right now.
Oh, so. That's the one I was thinking of, too. Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was a dog. That either came out right before or right after Casino Royale.
I think he had made it before Casino Royale.
Speaking of Casino Royale, the authentic one, do you count Sir David Niven as a Bond?
I do not, and I don't count George Lazenby as a Bond.
Oh, either. Come on! Yep. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a good movie. He's not great, but that's a good movie.
I've tried to watch it again, and I don't know. I love the Diana Rigg element.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of Diana Rigg, were you a big Avengers fan?
Yes, because Patrick McNee's been in Bond. Was he in 1 or 2 Bond movies?
At least one.
I think he was in the same. I think he was in View to a Kill when we're talking about Christopher Walken, and we're in Duran Duran, because I did a whole look-see on A View to a Kill, because that was probably the biggest Bond movie of the 80s, I would guess. And Sir Patrick McNee was in there too. Love that show. It was on like the CBS late night Friday night thing, and I got done with getting my butt kicked at football at Mark Twain, and then I'd kind of be sitting there sore from getting run over or whatever, and late night on CBS, here comes The Avengers, and I was like, wow.
Hey, I'm old enough. I watched it when it originally came out.
I believe that. I certainly do. So, well, thanks for this time with us.
One other question.
Yes.
You were born in 66?
66,
the
correct.
First Bond movie I went to was in 65 in person. So,
I want to say Live and Let Die was the first one I was at. I think that was it. I think that's the first one my folks took me to. So, well, and again, I want to thank you for your time, and of course, we will go out on this.